Hello, and welcome to Adapting and Adopting, a podcast. Adapting and Adopting is a mediated feature of conversations with older adults in our communities. Over the series of this podcast, I will feature interviews with 8 individuals in largely their raw and uncut form, providing context when needed, but really providing older adults a voice of their own. Before we begin, it is important to situate ourselves in the community, specifically Saddle Ridge, Taradale, and Martindale. These 3 communities have over 60% immigrant populations, largely coming from India, the Philippines, and Pakistan. Most of the people living in these communities are young and working age, and as such, older adults are often left out of community conversations. My name is Joshua DeGuglielmo, and I am an undergraduate researcher at the University of Calgary. Being a lifetime resident of Saddle Ridge, having volunteered at the Saddletown Library and the Saddle Ridge Community Association, I saw these gaps firsthand. What started out as a research project underneath the supervision of Dr. Aisha Mian Akram in the sociology department, focusing on older adults' experiences with technology, grew beyond what we could have imagined into conversations of life, community change, and finding place in these communities. Over the summer of 2025, I conducted interviews with community members and leaders at the Genesis Center, the University of Calgary, and in their own homes. The following interviews were recorded with the consent of participants and approval by the Research Ethics Board that this podcast was going to be produced, and seeks to represent the community members as they represented themselves, authentically, and in their own words. On episode 5 of Adapting and Adopting, we look at 2 parallel stories in Saddle Ridge, Myla and Angie. Both women have been in the community for over 20 years and share a lot of the same beliefs about the social and economic benefits of diversity in the community. For them, community change was an inevitable part of demographic growth, and Angie, having worked on the Saddle Ridge Community Association, saw a lot of these changes firsthand. Both women work white-collar office jobs. Myla as a lab tech in the Food and Health Inspection, and Angie in HR at a snowplow company, living in households with one university-aged child and their husbands. They both showcase how tech adoption looks at the home, and in their case, is primarily originated in the workplace. Angie is also my mother, and it was fascinating to get to hear her thoughts on technology practice and shifts in the community. Unlike the previous combination interviews, I will not transition between Myla and Angie's stories, except with a brief musical interlude. This is purposeful, to showcase the striking similarities between these 2 women's accounts. We'll begin with Myla and follow with Angie in the latter part of the podcast. Thank you and enjoy.
Myla. My name is Myla. My last name is Gadi.
Perfect.
Yeah.
What community do you live in?
Saddle Ridge,
Saddle Ridge. Nice.
Yeah.
How long have you lived in Saddle Ridge?
23 years.
23 years.
Yes.
Awesome. Would you
In
mind speaking?
2002.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been a while.
How do you find the neighborhood has been over those years?
Lots of progress.
Yeah.
Yes, and a lot of development that happened in the last 23 years. It's mind-blowing.
Right?
Yeah.
It's gotten so much bigger than we could
Yeah.
have expected.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Traffic is getting crazy.
Uh-huh.
There's lots of people, and so it's busy.
It is. It is. And so how would you say the neighborhood is like, what has been the biggest change you've witnessed over?
I think it's just a number of new families moving in, and the development of schools. There's a high school here. I forgot the name. the senior high school close to the library.
Yeah.
That's newish. I think that's just around 6 years old. And there's another one built in Saddletown, another grade 1K to 4. Because when we moved in, there's only one K to 9 in Saddletown, which is the Light of Christ, and there's one in Taradale. There's no senior high school close to the library, but now there is one. And there's another K to 4 inside Saddletown. I forgot the name. It's a public school. So yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's a lot of changes, eh?
Lots
Yeah.
of changes.
And even with this Genesis Center as well.
I know
Yeah.
it's kind of really blossomed into a lot of people moving in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's very livable, especially if you have a young family. You have lots of school to choose from. You have the Catholic, then you have the public, right? You're close to the train. You won't be stuck if let's say the Métis Trail is back down, then you always have the 52nd. You always have these two ways of traffic going. You're not just stuck in one. And then you have the train. And yeah, I think it's great. And then you have the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And then McDonald's is now here. When McDonald's is there, I think that's a sign that they want to invest because there are people. And there's also lots of a clinic, medical clinic. So yeah, it's really a lot of change.
Mind talking a little bit about your family?
My husband, I'm a Filipino. I moved here to Canada year 2000. Came from Regina for we lived in Regina for a year. We couldn't find a job. Moved to Calgary. We stayed in a rental, I guess, for a year, and then that's our first house here in Saddletown.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's me and my husband, and I have one child.
And how old are they?
19, just one.
And did they attend school in the neighborhood as
Yes,
well?
Light of Christ,
Light of Christ.
K to 9, and then Bishop McNally for the senior.
I want to talk a little bit about your community growing up and how that differs from living in Calgary now.
Right.
So you said you grew up in the Philippines.
Yeah,
What part of the Philippines?
Manila.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, in Manila is busy, and I think the population now we're hitting around 36 million just in Manila alone. If this is crazy, it doesn't compare. It's pale in comparison. Absolutely. So I'm used to seeing a lot of people. I'm used to be busy crowd. It doesn't really deter me from that because I'm used to it. That's my environment back home.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, and I'm the youngest of 7.
How was that growing up?
It's okay because there's actually a huge gap in the family. My mother married a very young age, and after 10 years, she was widowed. And then I'm from the second set. She married my father after 10 years. So there's actually a huge gap. You can believe our eldest daughter from my stepsister from the first marriage, she's 80 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's how it's just a spread because my mother married when she was 18, got widowed when she was 28, and then married my father when she was 38. And then I came from that second set of family. My sister is probably your great great grandma. I have a Bachelor of Science in Biology major. So yeah. So when I moved here in Canada, there's really no job for me in Regina. And so when I moved to Calgary, you put in all your resumes, and there's no LinkedIn yet. That time you just have I forgot. I would go to the library and put in my resume and just send it to this. I think I must have sent 100. And one replied, and it's a laboratory. It's called Norwest Labs. And I met the manager, and the manager, for some reason, was also an immigrant from Pakistan way, way, way back. And he said that, okay, I really have no way of verifying all your information here. I guess I will know if this is true in 6 months. So he said, I'm giving you a chance. So he hired me.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was actually very thankful to that person because he gave me a chance.
And you're still employed at the same place?
No. I'm now with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency for federal government. So federal laboratory. So I'm now in that.
Cool. Space. How long have you been there?
18 years. That's my success story. You may.
What type of entertainment do you like the best?
Mostly TV, all the HBO and the Netflix, right? I occasionally, I guess you can say now that the looking in Facebook is a sort of entertainment now because you will see all these reels and video, right?
Mhm.
It will take 2 hours there, similar to watching a movie, but then it's just so fast paced. It's mostly just TV, mostly just TV in terms of entertainment in the house, and I guess looking in Facebook occasionally.
How would you define technology?
How would I define technology? I think it's improvement in your everyday life to really help you. It makes things, uh, work tasks go quicker. It kind of streamline all your tasks because of technology. If you use it properly, it can really make you productive and really make use of your time, right? And it can really help all of us,
Mm.
right? So yeah, that's how I define technology.
That's a great way of defining it. I love that. So, based on that definition, what technologies do you use the most in your day-to-day life?
Computer at in the office,
Yeah.
because that's how you do all your data and your document, right?
Mhm.
And in the lab we deal with scientific equipment, so we have the app for certain, let's say for pathogen screening, so we have the big equipment for that. So it's kind of really ingrained in my kind of work. I work in We test food samples for pathogen. So we have lots of equipment for testing salmonella and listeria and E. coli 0157. And we're also into DNA and whatnot. So all the apps there you have to learn for you to be really figure out the testing and the layout and how you actually put in your sample and it will give you the result. It's mostly computer and all the apps in all this equipment.
So, were you primarily introduced to technology because of your work environment?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's just no way around it, right? Especially now. 20 years ago, when I was in the Philippines, I was still in this line of work at food testing. It's mostly cultural. If you have a plate and you streak it and you put it in there and you kind of look it in the microscope. Now moving here, it's kind of quicker because we always want a quick turnaround time. We want the result tomorrow. So if it's contaminated with a certain bacteria, we move it to the Ottawa, and Ottawa can issue a recall. So that's how we kind of have to do it for food safety, right? So I'm introduced to technology because of my line of work, basically. You're right about that. Yeah.
What about for your entertainment technologies? You mentioned you use the Facebook a lot. What introduced you to those?
Mostly just to connect with family, right? I actually started Facebook, I think, quite late. I think I only been with Facebook for the last maybe 15 years. I wasn't really into it in the beginning, right? Because I'm like, I really have no, I don't know. It's just that then all of a sudden my cousins back home, my sister would say that just go in Facebook and you can show us pictures of Jalen, right? Because we want to, share all these pictures. So yeah, I was only in Facebook the last 15 years.
And how do you find that experience is different from when you joined initially to now?
Initially, you were so excited because for me, the technology was new. You share all these pictures. And after a while, I kind of find it, I'm sharing too much information. And I'm an introvert. I don't really like it as much. And I will just look at and I don't really want to say that, yeah, I've been here and I've done that. This is what we're doing. For me, that's kind of private. If you're really my friend, we will talk and you would ask. But for all the people to see that they're not really my friend anyway, it's just an acquaintance. I don't even think that they would find the need for it. I think for them it's just clutter, right? And they will just say, well, it's just a way of, I think, gossiping or putting yourself out there, and then you'll be, things would, and then you would see it there, all the comments, and it's really not good for you anyway, right? Because before the technology, you would only hear these comments when you talk about it and maybe the gossip, but now you will see it there and people just chiming in, which is like, it's not really your business. So yeah, now I'm just merely looking. Now I'm more into looking at I'm a little bit into, I'm trying a little bit of sewing. So I'm looking for techniques in how to upcycle clothing and how to refashion. And I am also a little bit into art. So I'm doing a little bit of oil pastel. I'm looking at so I'm into, just for my creative side of my brain. I'm just looking for techniques there now, and cooking too. Yeah, not so. Yeah, I'll just look at the reels and the video and like the tips and techniques. But mostly for the family, the pictures, I would just mostly gloss over them, and sometimes I would even miss it. And my sister would say, "Did you see so and so?" I'm like, "No, no, I was just looking at the videos there." Yeah. So anyway.
Do you feel like that strains your relationship at all, or is it?
Not really. And we will just say, "Oh, just go in there," and I will just look back. And,
Yeah.
you just search and put your name, like, "Oh, there you go. I saw the picture." But I find the Facebook for me now is very helpful. If you're really wanting to explore a new kind of hobby and you want to get some tips, just to be busy, right? Just to have another creative thing going on your life instead of just work and well, family is great, but sometimes this is like my time for myself. I can explore that side.
What would you say is the largest benefit of technology?
In my life, the largest benefit of technology, aside from my work, because I earn a living because of that, right? I think it's really communicating with my family back home, because it's so easy now. You can really because of technology now, you can communicate with them 24/7. There's really no they're sleeping, because even though they're sleeping, and when they hear the phone, they would actually look it up, right? And one time I told my sister, "Why do you have to keep it on? Why don't you mute it when you're sleeping? You don't really need it, right? Because of all the distractions." So it's mostly for communication with my family. And you're always in the know if you really want to, especially for the emergencies and for family, and even for myself and for Jane. So yeah.
Nice. And what would you say is the biggest drawback in your life then?
It's a waste of time when I'm looking at all these reels and video. It's just I will be sitting there for hours. I'm like, well, I could have done something. I think it's just that, and just trying to discipline myself and just say, well, I'm just gonna sit here for half an hour and look at the sewing techniques and how to sew a shirt, and that's it. And I will just, yeah, I think it's just it's a time sucker basically.
Yeah.
For me.
So take me back to your earliest memory with technology.
Right.
Yeah.
My earliest memory with technology, when my boyfriend moved to Regina. So we have to communicate through Hotmail. And back home at that time, year 1999, he moved here 1998. I don't have a computer in the house. So I would go to the internet cafe back then. I don't know if you know it. Yeah, you know that? Okay. So you just go in there and you pay for an hour, right? Because before, long distance phone calls were very expensive. So the cheapest way is to just send an email. And even then, we will just be emailing. It's quicker than writing a letter with the mail, right? So I was introduced to that because my boyfriend moved here. If he's there, but then we have to find a way to communicate that's not expensive, like phone calls and long distance, and not really too slow because of the slow mail.
Yeah. That was one of the primary reasons that you were adopting technology, or like that you wanted to adapt to the technology,
so,
was to stay that connected with
to stay connected. And my sister was the one, I'm the youngest, and my other sister was the one who's always been very interested in the computer. And I would just listen, right? I'm not very patient with when trying to figure out things in the computer, but my sister was very patient and she would actually do this. And because of that, I'm just kind of reluctant to actually go into that space, because I'm like, well, I want it done now. I want it quicker to do. But then she explained, "No, you have to do this and you have to go in there, you have to search it." And so, yeah, I was introduced because of that. And then later on, you have to figure it out, right? So, and then figuring out is then you learning in the process.
What would you say has been the biggest change that throughout all this time that you've witnessed? You could say both at work or at.
The biggest change that I find with myself is because of technology, you have to analyze any kind of technology. You really have to analyze it and to really think it over,
Mhm.
right? Because unlike the new generation, you are actually introduced to it just from the get go. For us, we're kind of we're trailing behind. So everything for us is you have to learn it and you have to read it and you have to try it several times for you. It's not kind of intuitive for us. We really have to think about it. That was for me.
Yeah.
I really have to think about it. And sometimes I would write it down. So actually, I think my critical side of the brain was a little bit more sort of harness and sort of exercise more because of that. I can always ask, right? But then you sometimes you want to figure it out on your own, right? Yeah.
How does that make you feel with the big changes and having to adapt into this?
Well, it's kind of sometimes it's exasperating because you have to kind of really figure out and you have to read it and you have to Google and you know how to say, how do you do this? And I would Google it up and do. And it's sometimes it's frustrating, but at the same time, when I get it, like no, I got it, I got it. Quite rewarding. Like I know how to do it now, right? So yeah. Anyway, yeah, exactly. It's kind of it still frustrates me sometimes, but when I figure it out, I'm happy for that I'm learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest frustration you face?
It will take me hours for I guess for a young person in maybe half an hour to figure it out. For me, I really have to sit there. I'm like, I've wasted 2 hours already, and I kept going back and going back and going back. Sometimes it's a waste of time for me, and that's why sometimes I would tend to just ask the younger person in the lab, like, "Hey, can you help me this?" And it's so frustrating because he would come to me and say, "No, you just do this," and just like that, like I should have thought of that. Why didn't I think about it? And sometimes it's just in my face, it's just there. And again, I would tell myself, because you are not taking things, you are not really thinking things thoroughly. You're always in a rush. You really need to slow down and look at all this. You click this, go in the folder, look at this name. And I'm like, you really have to be critical in the way you think about these things because everything is in there. It's just a matter of finding it out, right? Yeah, it's frustrating because sometimes I'll be spending there 2 hours where really, if only I ask, maybe it's just 10 minutes. But then it defeats the purpose of me learning,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And I don't like it because I know the young people are always eager to help. I get that. I get that. But I also if you look from their side, they'll be like, oh, it's so easy. You could have just really you cannot do this. Especially now that in the office you have such a gap in the workforce, right? You have this very young, very keen 20 something, and then you're on the other side who's almost close to stepping out the door, and they're so quick with this. For us, we're learning, we kind of knew it, but even though we've been there for a long time, we've been doing this for a long time. The technology, especially with the new equipment, keep on changing, right? So we now again need to catch up to be able to say, yeah, we actually understand that equipment, we know the ins and outs.
Does your work provide you training for that?
Yeah,
Well,
again, like I said, again, I would sit there like, yeah, okay. And then it will take me again another maybe 2 hours to actually really imbibe everything and
Yeah.
say, yeah, I actually understand it. Again, for young people, it is just so easy because you guys, you know these things, right? So yeah, we have training and it's just really a matter of sitting there and really understanding it and asking the right questions and being patient and I guess to be really be coachable because sometimes you're being taught by a young person to do this and yeah, they know it better than I do. What can you do, right? Because it's easy for them. Their brains are kind of wired that way. So we just have to. And but for us, for the older person or the more experienced person in the office, we kind of know the theory behind this, and then like we do this because we have the principle because. And you're teaching me how to use the technology. So it's always hand in hand anyway. We always work hand in hand because the older I hope so. I hope the older and experienced workforce in the office have the vision, and you kind of understand what we are here for, right? And the newer the newcomers may be so good at the technology, but they don't really they need help in understanding the flow and how the actual business line works. It's always hand in hand. They really need to work together.
How do you feel like that experience goes when you do ask them? Do you feel like they're judging you? How do you feel like?
Well, I sometimes I think you can always tell the expression, right? Even though you say, it's okay. But then you kind of they will answer you, and then they will leave the room, and then you can just see the eyes, you can just see the facial expression and the body language. But there are others who are very good at helping anyway. So that's why I would just tend to lean to the person whom I think is really wanting to help, right? Because really, you would always go to the most approachable, right? And the kindness in the butt. How do you find it at home? My husband is very impatient. Right? Even Jalen is very impatient. So I will just have to keep on asking. I guess kids are like that. They're always impatient. They'll say it's so easy, and then even if they know, they will say I don't know because they are doing something else, right? And my husband is a little bit keener on me compared to technology, but then he said, well, it's hard to ask sometimes because he's impatient. Say no, it's just what you do, and sometimes you just kind of want to. Can you walk me through because I am really having a hard time following the directions. But we'll get there eventually. You will help me eventually, maybe after a day or two, and I will just let this pass. And then sometimes I will just go to the office and then ask the new people, right? And I will get my answer regarding. You cannot really force the issue with my husband if he doesn't want to help. Right? And you can just always look for someone who's willing to help. So they have to, right? Yeah. They have to because we're kind of the senior. Like you gotta, right? You have to. What changed the most with your practices using technology over the years? Attention to detail, because that's very important with our kind of work. Attention to detail when especially when the equipment is spitting out results. And because sometimes even though not all equipments are fail safe, they don't work sometimes, and you really have to look at the graph and say that is this the correct one versus if it's just cultural and you don't have the equipment, right? So for me it's really attention to detail. And the technology now in the office, we are very cognizant of the version. We always need to be using the updated version because as a federal laboratory, that's part of the quality system. It has to be updated. So we're always, is this the correct version from the manufacturer? Are we using the correct update of this equipment? Because if it's not the correct update, then there may be some loopholes there that we didn't see. So we always look for that. So the attention to detail is more one thing because of technology, and you have to know the versions. And even if you're buying equipment, you have to know, is that the latest version? Can you give us tech support? Right? It's always the tech support, and how much is the tech support? And then you have the warranty after that. If there's a update next year, are you gonna shoulder the cost of the update for us? So yeah, it's attention to detail. Fascinating. Yeah. And how would you say your practices have changed regarding technology since the COVID pandemic? Because of the COVID pandemic, we were introduced to this Microsoft Teams, right? Before we don't have that because during the COVID pandemic, we would meet in Teams, and before it's always face to face in a meeting room like this. Because of the COVID pandemic, now people will be working from home, they're sick, and one thing that technology, I think, if I can say that it's the working from home that it works for people who actually just analyze data, and the computer would spit it out for you, and then you sit here on your own and you analyze it. Or there are some jobs where you cannot really work from home, and sometimes yes you can, but it's not really the ideal mode of work, right? And I think productivity wise it's down because of the working from home. I know in the office you can also lax and say, I'm not gonna work. We're just gonna be chatting for an hour. That can work too, right? But at least you see them there. For working from home, you cannot really see them. And I think because of that, people take advantage of that scenario and that setup. And I think it's here to stay, the working from home. Different. And it's unfair for us who work. You can't do that. It's unfair. Because the people who doesn't work from home doesn't really get any benefit, right? You don't have a extra gas allowance. You don't get an extra sick time.
Yeah.
Because if you're working from home, you can just say, even though I'm sick, but you can still work. And you can use that other sick time for some other time that you really need it. But for us, you have to use it because you need to be in the workplace.
Yeah.
And you don't have that perks, I guess. And yeah, and they say, yeah, it's part of the new working arrangement now and in the new era of working, but it's not really great. It's not positive also for the person working from home. You have less interaction. So your social skills are kind of right. If you're talking about depression and all this mental health, I think working from home kind of add to that.
How would you say your practices at home, like regarding Facebook or television use, changed from the pandemic as well?
Because of the pandemic, we kind of I discovered all these reels and videos before. I don't even look at it. I'm not even aware that it's because I would just look at the pictures of my relatives, but I didn't even go in that other box of the videos and the reels. And because of the pandemic, and there's really not much to do during that time, you kind of explore those the videos and the reels.
Yeah. So you mentioned a bit earlier that you used the library when you moved to the city, and that you used it for sending out resumes.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself actively using the library a lot?
Not so much now, but I think maybe earlier this year I would come here and borrow books. I would borrow self-help books. I like the self-development, more spiritual books. And last year I used the library for the how to learn Spanish.
Ooh.
That app, the Rosetta. Is it Rosetta? Yes, they have this app in the library that you can download on your phone just to learn how to speak Spanish.
And how's it going?
I stopped because I was preparing for the trip, and once the trip was over, I'm lazy again. Like I really need to at least spend maybe an hour a week, just do something.
How did you find accessing that to download the app through the library?
Yeah, again, it took me a little bit to actually get it.
And did you find there was like supports available for you at the library if you needed them?
Yeah, but I never really asked for. I just kind of go in there and try to figure it out on my own until finally I'm comfortable. I'm like, yeah, I got it. I'm sure there will be support if I ask. And then I would write it down because sometimes I would forget. Because if you don't do this often, you forget.
Well,
right?
exactly. Yeah. So, what is the biggest barrier to technology access for you?
I always have this. I'm hesitant. I know it's there. I can always explore if I want to. I'm hesitant because I don't. I'm a little bit scared because it will take me forever to not longer to actually go in there. I think I'm not really tech savvy if you say. I'm not really if I'm forced to do it, I will do it. Like online banking and whatnot. Yes. If I have to do it, I will do it. But if I have my way, but I also tell myself that we really need to move on with technology or else you'll be left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm lazy. I'm lazy because I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good now. I don't really need it now. Right. But then sometimes I'll be caught. I should have learned this before. I should have really studied this earlier. So now I'm a little bit okay in doing. Yeah, I'm hesitant. I'm lazy, and right now I have no problem. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't. It's not like if I have everything I need right now, right, and I can still get away with it.
Good.
I can do a little bit of online banking, sure, but I don't do it. I don't. It's not all my banking information are not on my phone, like others would just use it for everything. For me, I don't. I still have my credit card. I still do that. I would still go to the bank to talk to the professional advisor there. I still do that.
That human connection, right?
Exactly. And I'm still okay. But if I need to do it, I will do it.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest barriers for others, maybe in Saddle Ridge?
Support at home. Well, I think if your kids doesn't really want to help you, and if your husband is getting impatient to help, it you really need to want it for yourself.
Mhm.
If you can get by without using it, and you can just rely on your person in the house to do it for you, then you will just say, it's okay, right? But if no one else will help you, you will be forced to do it, right? And I think for me, I also want to be independent, that I can do everything on my own. Of course, there's my husband, but I kind of want to travel on my own with my sister, and it's just us. It's different when we're together. He will do all the online banking and whatnot, but I want to be independent and to do things on my own. That I can say, well, I can also do that. It may take me a little bit longer,
Yeah.
but I can do it as much as you can.
And do you feel like your barriers have changed with time, or these barriers have changed with time? I know you said earlier, I don't really want to repeat it because you said you were lazy.
Well, I think so. I'm really getting better at it, because
Good.
now that there's no turning back, because technology is just moving forward,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
So you really have to go with the tide, or else you'll be left behind.
Yeah.
Right? And one time we went to this trip last year, and it's a group tour, and this person was lost in the airport, and she had no cell phone. Like, why? So all of us, part of the group tour, were scrambling, trying to look for her, because we don't know where she was. Like, why would you even go on a trip? And she was by herself, because she was just relying with a friend, and say, we'll always be together, and we'll find you. You have the cell phone, and I'll just, share, and you will. And like, why? And so things like that, right? You can't really avoid it. Yeah.
Preventable.
Exactly. Absolutely. It's preventable. It may cost you a little bit more, but that's the cost of it, right? Yeah. You just need to pay, and it's for your convenience and for your protection.
Do you think that there are accessible resources? And you've talked about this a little bit. Do you think there are accessible resources for people in the community to make technology accessible?
There used to be in the library here. I don't know if they still do it. One time there was what do you call it? There's a program in the library for computer kind of getting to know the computer something.
Tech mentors, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is it still around?
Unfortunately, the Saddletown Library does not carry this.
It used to be.
It used to be, yeah.
It used, because when my niece was living with me, and this was probably like 13 years ago, she would volunteer and come here. Maybe there's not enough. So there's not enough participants, right? There's not enough participants, and so that's too bad.
It's a good program to have, and it's cool that it goes on at other libraries, but it would be cool to see at our library brought back again. I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it was too intimidating for others.
Maybe. And there could be other barriers like language.
Yeah.
I mean, because Saddle Ridge, Taradale, Martindale, so many different languages are spoken here.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. How do you think that the system could be improved?
In the home, it's kind of hard, because it's the family is there, and it's just the nature of the kids. It's just how they are, especially if they're teenager, and they're not really very helpful.
Yeah.
And that you cannot really change that. You just have to deal with it, right? For the husband, that's another thing with a married couple. Again, no, you cannot really force it. So the person really needs, or the husband, if he's a little bit needs help, you really need to go out to ask for help. And so maybe the library is a good resource, or maybe the city of Calgary will just put, or in the local community, and make it not so intimidating. Like, just very simple, like none of this, download the app, or right, just how to maybe really operate a cell phone, right? What do you do? How do you turn it on? How do you put the contact? How do you put your If you want to get an Uber, how do you put your taxi there? Right? All these little things. And if you're how to use the Google if you want to look for a clinic, how do you put it there and you click the search?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Yeah.
it's the community. It's the local community that really should step up. Right? Or maybe you know how the all the MPs member the parliament and even the local municipality whenever they campaign they have all this platform and whatnot and we are so good about healthy living and which is good because it's part of your health but for technology maybe they can say a little bit of introduction for the seniors with coffee and donuts, right? Something a little bit not too heavy on technology, because I think it will just start with a simple chit chat. You can slowly introduce it to that.
Make it less like a classroom, intimidating.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like a gathering for you're just talking, like a coffee conversation about technology. Yeah, you can run for it.
yeah.
Right? Like a monthly something. Yeah, make it more a little bit available for seniors because really it's not going away. It's gonna get more and more complicated, I think, and then you'll be left behind, and you don't want that. And if you're left behind, your sons and daughter wouldn't like it because you'll be calling them all the time and asking questions, and they will be irritated, right? And so you are so reliant on them. You gotta pick it up and do it on your own too, so they cannot boss you around.
I've got one more question for you. Do you feel like there's a big difference between your technology use and like your older sister's
Right.
technology use? The one
My
who's
other sister is more keen on it because she lives on her own.
oh
So she has to figure everything. She's single.
okay.
I think it's different if you're in a family and you have a husband or spouse or a partner. But if you're on your own, you have to do it,
Mhm.
right? Because you have there's no one else. But if you are in a house, and especially if you have a extended family living there, you have aunts and you have uncles and you have cousins,
Mhm.
you have a lot to rely on. And you can just say, I'm not going to do this because they will help me anyway if you're on your own. That's why my other sister is better than me when it comes to doing that, even though I'm the youngest. But and then she will just tell me, this is how you do it. Like, okay. And then she also understand. And she'll be like, oh yeah, because I know your husband is doing it for you. Like, yeah, well, he gotta do something too. I cannot just be doing everything here. So he can take care of that.
Well, that's great. That's interesting. Normally, when we hear it from people who are like very much older and the younger, it's usually the opposite, right? It's like, yeah, yeah,
The younger that who's
yeah,
so keen about it,
yeah.
right?
So that's really cool to hear, actually. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
But she lives by herself.
Good
And
for
my
her.
other sister is a single mom.
Oh,
So that's why both of them are keener than me. They're by themselves.
yeah,
But for me, I have a husband and I have children. So
yeah.
even though I need to learn it, I can always ask.
Yes,
I
yeah.
have that a little bit of support there. So if you're living by yourself, especially if you're a senior and you're on your own, to learn it, or else you'll be all this scam floating
Oh,
around. You'll
yeah.
be victims of that.
Do you find that that's something that they're concerned about or that you're concerned about?
Not maybe. Because sometimes I would tell myself that maybe I'm not doing this properly, and I will be a victim of a scam. That's why I'm like I really need to read and learn this. I know for people who are living by themselves and they're not in the know, they'll be a likely target of those
Exactly.
scams, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's crazy. Well, I appreciate you talking with me today. Thank you so very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add that I didn't cover today?
I guess also if for technology to be really for the senior people to really adapt to it, it has to be user friendly. It really has to be intuitive. It's not go to this folder and in this folder and this folder and it's there buried somewhere. It has to be user friendly and the instruction has to be clear. And I know people will always say, well, it's implied, it's there. Of course it's there. But sometimes, again, like for the seniors, they don't really know. They really need help in the direction there.
Yeah.
So if it's not really spelled out step by step, then they'll be lost and they will just give up because, well, I can do it. I've wasted so much time. Why don't you just do this for me? Right. So if it's make it just simple. Yeah.
Awesome. That's a great note to end on. Thank you
Yeah.
so very much. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Angie Bailey, and I am Josh's mom. I grew up in Calgary. I was born and raised here. I have lived in the Northeast most of my life, and I love it here.
Awesome. So who else is in our family, I guess?
My husband, Chris, and Joshua, and our cat, and my mother, who is approximately 77 years old.
What community, you said you lived in Calgary your whole life? What communities did you grow up in?
I grew up I did live in the Southwest for a little while. I grew up in Glenbrook, and then I moved to Marlborough. I've lived in Temple. I've lived in Falcon Ridge. I've lived in Forest Lawn. I went to Forest Lawn High. 25 years of my life has been spent in Saddle Ridge.
Nice.
I lived in Abbeydale as well. I don't think that I would leave the Northeast. I love the Northeast.
So do you want to tell everyone a little bit about your education experience growing up in the Northeast?
Growing up in the Northeast, well, it was interesting going to school in Marlborough. The school that I went to was an open area school for junior high, and so there was no classrooms. We were divided into classrooms, but I mean, you could see the other classroom right beside you because there was no walls, which was very interesting. Yeah, there was one area that was kind of cordoned off, and then the library was cordoned off. Other than that, it was all open area. And then at Forest Lawn, it was a regular high school.
So what type of entertainment did you like? Or do you like?
Music and movies. I really love music. I worked in a record store for years. I worked for HMV when that was a thing. And still is if you go to Toys R Us, I guess. It's not the same.
No.
That was the best job ever. I would have loved to have done that full time. However, I worked for TELUS for 23 years, and that is mostly where my technology comes from. My technology knowledge comes from TELUS. And my brother. My brother is in IT. My brother is 5 years younger than me, but he is in IT, and he was really, really good at computers at a young age, and he would build computers. So I think I had a computer before anybody else did, just because of him, and he was able to give me one and show me how to use it. The printer that I used at the time was one of those roll printers with the little tabs on the sides. And my monitor actually was kind of falling apart, but
Yeah.
it was good. And all my friends would come over and go, "Oh my gosh, you have a computer?" And I'm like, yes, I do.
You were ahead of your time.
I was, actually, yes.
I guess just a little bit more about Saddle Ridge. You've lived here for 25 years. I guess I've also lived here for the same amount of time, almost the same amount of time. How has your experience been living in Saddle Ridge, and why Saddle Ridge?
I don't know, when we moved here, it was, I don't know, it was a new neighborhood. It was up and coming. It was beautiful. And we've only stayed because we really enjoy the people. We love being here. It's diverse. Everybody's so friendly and lovely. And I was part of the community for 8 years, their secretary, or whatever you want to call it. So I love doing that and being part of the community. I don't know really why I stopped, but I think it was just time. But I really, really love it here.
What makes Saddle Ridge different than the neighborhoods you grew up in?
Let's see. Saddle Ridge is way more diverse. When I went to school in the South, in Glenbrook, there was definitely nobody but Caucasian people. There was one girl that I was friends with, and she became my best friend. But and she was Black, but she was the only Black child in the school at the time, and it was just different. We had never really interacted with interracial people, and now here it's just like Yeah, I it's awesome.
Yeah.
And you learn so much about people. You learn, different cultures. You get to talk to your neighbors. Everybody's great.
What ways has the neighborhood changed since you've moved here?
Oh my goodness. Well, quite a bit actually. When we first moved here, we were the only house on this side of Saddle Ridge. There was no other houses anywhere. We had cows, we had coyotes, we had all sorts of things. It was just dirt. But it was still home and it was great. We loved it.
Yeah.
The way it's grown has been crazy. I didn't expect it to have gotten as big as it is,
Mhm.
to be one of the largest communities in the city, and it's awesome. The Savannah Bazaar is awesome. The walkways are awesome. They do need a little work, but we're still doing pretty good, I think.
Earlier, before the interview, you kind of mentioned how the population is so much bigger than even.
Where my mother lives, she lives in Strathmore, and I think the population is only 17,000 or something. The population of Saddle Ridge, I don't even think it's that much in Strathmore. Anyways, the population in Saddle Ridge has grown to what, 30,000 or
Something
something?
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think that this community is bigger than the whole town of Strathmore. I just, it's so bizarre. We're our own little city and within itself. It's awesome. And we have so much access to amenities here.
Mhm.
We can get onto Stony, we can go to Cross Iron, we can go to East Hills, it's just so easy to get around to anywhere you want to go.
How would you define technology?
That is a really good question. Technology, how would I define it? Something that is ever evolving and people never being able to catch up. I don't know what else to say. That's, to me, that's what it is.
Interesting that you say never being able to catch up. Is that kind of how you feel about technology?
I don't know. I think, well, maybe for a lot of people my age, I
Yeah.
guess. There's just so much every day that changes, and so much. I mean, when I was growing up, there was no cell phones. We had landlines and payphones, and if you wanted a picture taken, you had to wait 2 weeks to get it developed, and you hoped that people were actually looking at the camera. Now everything is so instantaneous, and so yeah. But there's so much as well, especially with AI and everything else that's going on. Unless you're on it every day and aware of all the trends, you really don't get to catch up.
So, what technologies do you use every day?
Every day, well, I use mostly Microsoft Office. I use Excel, I use Word, I use Teams, I use PowerPoint, I use all the Office programs mostly.
Mhm.
I was on Facebook, however, I was on it pretty much every day during COVID, and after that, I felt that social media was too much of everybody bitching and complaining, and I just had enough of it and decided not to be on there anymore. I do miss talking to my family that's in other countries, but I can always email them, or if I want, send them a letter.
Yeah.
Mail them a card.
So, what primarily introduced you to technology? I know you said your
My brother, yeah. So my brother was a big influence on the way my knowledge. And I think that helped me quite a bit for people that didn't actually have that. I remember working with a girl at TELUS, and we used to have a computer program called Prof, which is really ancient. And I remember when we first got Windows introduced and Word, and she was petrified of it. And I was trying to show her, she's like, no, I don't want to change. I don't want to change. I like this. And I'm like, Profs is so bad. I don't know why you don't want to change. But I was able to sit with her and help her through things and show her how easy it was. And then she was, at the end going, wow, I can't believe how easy this is. Yes, it is. And I also found at TELUS, like, if anybody ever needed help, they would always come to me, because I was usually more knowledgeable than most people. There was at one point at TELUS when we when the internet first started. I know that's a silly comment to make, but
No.
when the internet first started, when it was dial-up, and I was actually part of the IT team to help people at the
Wow.
time. Yeah, there was like maybe 4 of us, and we had one number to call in for IT, and it was us. But things have changed quite a bit since
Yeah.
then, and I don't think I could do it anymore.
So what would you say are the biggest drawbacks then of technology?
Personally believe that social media is a big drawback. I think it's one of our downfalls. I do believe that having access to immediate knowledge is wonderful. It's brilliant. However, using it for the wrong purposes, I think is a definite downfall for society.
Would you care to elaborate on that a little bit more?
Well, I'm just thinking back to even Facebook.
Mhm.
It's just so everybody's got their own opinion, and I understand that everybody has their own opinion, but you don't, it starts fights. It divides people. I just don't feel that social media, and I can't speak for the other social medias because I am not on them. But I feel that it's kind of a downfall because people are more apt to being, we used to say at TELUS that people are really brave when it comes to talking to operators on the phone because they don't see them. If you were having this conversation that you would have on Facebook face to face, the conversation might not be as drastic as it would be face to face when you can't see them. If you were able to see them, your conversation might be different and people might get along better.
So I guess flipping the script a little bit, then what would you say are the biggest benefits of technology?
Like I mentioned before, I think knowledge, being able to, yeah, I mean, even looking up telephone numbers. I mean, you don't have to call 411. You don't have to pay for the number. I mean, you do pay for it with your subscription to your packages for internet, but it's not the same thing as paying, 50 cents per call. I think like being able to see the news immediately and know what's going on in the world is a benefit. But I just don't feel that people need to comment about it.
Yeah.
Again, because you can't see the people, you're making the wrong comments. Yeah.
What would be your earliest memory with technology?
Do pagers count?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. So when I first met your dad,
Mhm.
we got him a pager when we got pregnant with you, actually. And then we decided that the pager wasn't working well enough because, driving around trying to find a payphone to make a call. So we decided that cell phones were kind of expensive back then. So, but then when I got pregnant with you, we decided that we needed cell phones, and that's when we went with that. My earliest memory of having a computer is a long time ago. Like I said, the one with the monitor falling apart. And yeah, the front screen is hanging off the back, and and you had to wait 4 hours for it to do anything. But it was good. It still was able to help my friends.
Awesome. What did you primarily use that for? The broken, falling apart monitor.
Oh, actually, so my husband, Chris, was in a band, and I used to make posters for the band.
Cool.
Yeah, for them to put up for advertising. So yeah, I would do that a lot. Other than that, again, it was on dial-up, and there wasn't really much out there. Your websites were quite limited. So yeah, not really much other than making posters, and I don't think I used it for much more than anything that, yeah.
Fair.
Yeah.
What would you say has been the biggest change that you've witnessed with technology over the years?
All the advancements are so amazing. Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, again, I'm all the Microsofts.
Yeah.
Thank God for them. I just think they're brilliant, and the people that invented them, wow, thank you. It makes life so much easier. Even working at TELUS with the computer programs that we actually, when I first started, we had this old program, but we also kept the books. So a Calgary directory book was probably 4 feet long, so that you could flip the pages easier. That has changed things quite a bit.
Yeah. Witnessing this big change over time, how has all of these changes made you feel?
To begin with, I felt always really good because everybody always came to me and asked, my help, and I was always like, "Yay me," because I was able to help them, and I'm a big one for sharing knowledge. Uh, Now I feel like I'm kind of slowed down a bit on that, just because I maybe not as interested in the Snapchat or the whatever else is out there for social media. But then again, my social media status has been previously explained. So I don't know. I just, the AI, I'm not really crazy about. However, I don't know enough about it either to, in some ways, it scares me. And in some ways, I think it's awesome. I mean, it's great for spell check.
Yeah. Yeah.
And for editing, editing documents. But other than that, I'm not sure where it's going, and I'm not really quite sure that it needs to go where I think it's going.
Fair. Yeah. What scares you the most about it?
That they'll take over. I know that sounds silly, but we won't need people. That's what I mean by that. It's going to take jobs away from people. I just feel that it's not personal. I don't know. I just don't think that anything that takes a job away from a person is a good thing.
Especially creative jobs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And we need people. People, if we don't have people, what's the point?
Do you want to talk a little bit earlier before the interview as well? You mentioned wanting to talk about how my grandmother feels about all this as well and the differences there.
Okay, my mom, I will do internet banking. My mother will not. She will not do anything over the internet except for play her two games that she plays. To get her to text on her telephone, on her cell phone, is not existence. I don't know if she texts on her iPad, which is different than her cell phone, but she's okay with that because the screen is bigger as well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably most of the problem. Even calling her on her cell phone, she won't answer it. It goes to voicemail, and there is a message that says, "Please do not leave a message because I do not check this." Um,
Yep.
she used to be pretty good when she was working. Her and I would email back and forth sometimes during the day while she was working or I was working. If, instead of making a call, it's like she would email me at work. And that was great. But then since she's not been working for so long, I think she's definitely been left out of the loop. And it's sometimes very frustrating. But some days she goes, "Hey, I figured this out on my own." And I'm like, "Good for you." I didn't have to call your brother for help. Because she wouldn't think to call me. Even though I probably know the answer too.
So, what influenced you to adopt new technologies?
I think work.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is work, definitely. I mean, if you can't do it at work, they're probably going to say, "Thank you very much for your service," and move on. Especially at TELUS, because TELUS is an information technology company. You need to keep up. If you don't keep up, yeah, you're kind of useless.
Yep.
So yeah, technology at TELUS was great, and I think that part of my life helped me to be more engaged. I don't necessarily think that other people that weren't in that environment would have been as engaged as I was. Yeah. Like maybe their own little tiny computer program for their office, but not necessarily getting a bigger, broader picture of it. I mean, even my boss now, who is younger than me, he's like, "Angie, can you help me with this? Angie, can you help me with that?" "Oh, so and so needs a spreadsheet built. And Angie, you could do that." Wait a second. I would love to, but I'm busy. Although I love spreadsheets.
Clearly, you're a big Microsoft fan.
I don't know what we'd do without them.
What has been the most significant change in your practice?
Well, I use it every day. Changes. I don't really actually think, other than the social media portion of it, that I really don't care to elaborate anymore on, and I don't want to engage in. I think the use is every day for myself. I I do enjoy making spreadsheets. I mean, I would even make spreadsheets for home if we needed them.
So maybe you mentioned a little bit about how your practices regarding social media use have changed since the pandemic. Has anything else changed since the pandemic for you?
Not necessarily, no. I think just the use of the social media.
Mm.
Um, I try. I actually find myself that I do read the news more than probably I should.
Mhm.
I am addicted to the news on my phone, and other than that, nothing else has really changed. Yeah, and I think I wasn't reading the news even before the pandemic, but since then I've kind of, because I wanted to know what was going on during the pandemic,
Yeah.
and now I just can't seem to stop. I am trying to play a game or something or learn a different language. Oh, that's what I'm doing. I'm learning a new language.
Oh, fun. What language are you learning?
Italian.
Nice. Oh, that's
and
fun.
Spanish and Welsh.
Oh, okay. Now, are you learning these languages? What program are you learning these languages?
Duolingo. Yeah, it's free. It's easy. It's fun.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. And without technology, I wouldn't have that either.
Yeah. Are there any public spaces that you use technology in? Or what spaces do you use technology in?
Well, I have used technology at the library, not very often. Other than that, I don't think there's any public spaces. No, no,
Why not?
I wouldn't trust it.
Okay. Would you care to elaborate?
Okay, so we had a um I'm sorry, like an not an ethics, but a computer safety training, and even the cords that are used at the airport to plug into
Mm-hmm.
are not safe. So if the cords aren't safe, how else do you get around any of that then?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they've got the cords there, somebody switched it with their cord. I mean, yeah. There's a lot of times I wouldn't trust, a CD gas station to use my debit card in either,
Yeah.
depending. So, yeah. I mean, we've had debit cards for a long time, and I don't actually consider that technology. But now that I think of it, it really is.
It's funny because in the last one of the last interviews, I mean, I had been primarily approaching this from a communications technology lens, and one of the participants I interviewed yesterday, she was talking all about her work at the laboratories and all the lab technology she used, and she wasn't really considering communications technology as much as the technology she used in the lab, which it just means something different to everyone.
But yeah, I guess there's communication that we don't even really we take for granted and don't even think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's just part of everyday life now.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are the biggest barriers to technology access for you?
I actually don't think I have very many barriers to technology access. I have a laptop at home that I use all the time. And if that for some reason breaks down, I have a great computer guy that will have it back to me within a day. And if worst comes to worst, I could always use Joshua's.
Yeah.
If I, again, if Joshua's isn't working and mine isn't working, I could use the one at work. I would just need to explain to my boss that, hey, I need to do something personal. It's only going to take a little bit, but other than that, I don't think I have any barriers at all.
What about for other people in the household?
My husband is not technology inclined at all. He tries. He really does. He's I help him a lot with his. It's like, here, can you help me? Josh helps him a lot as well with certain things. There's programs for his work that he'll get me to do stuff with. There's programs on his phone for his work that he gets me to do for him as well. It's not that he can't. I just think he's not interested at all. My mom, I think she just has no interest either anymore.
Mhm.
I mean, now that she's not working, just like I mentioned before, once she stopped working, there was really no purpose to her continuing on. It makes it very frustrating for me because we live in another town.
Mhm.
And sometimes if I can't get a hold of her, I would like to be able to text her or
Yeah.
call her on her cell that doesn't accept messages. And I know she's probably got it stuffed in her pocket somewhere and not even knows where it is at the moment, or it's not charged. I find that very disturbing sometimes if I expect her to be home and she hasn't told me she's going out. I'd like to know where she's at, but you can only ask her so much to try, and she's not interested. So
Can only do what you can do, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What about for other people in the community?
I know being in Saddle Ridge that it is a lower income area. However, I would like to think that at least the children have access to iPads, laptops, something, because they would probably need them for school. I don't know about the elderly people in our community that may not know or have access to either. I know in school now you need them, whereas in my school we didn't have them. So I would like to hope that everybody has access at least to one cell phone per house or one laptop per house.
What would you
It
say?
should be mandatory, and the government should pay for it.
What would you say the barriers that they face to potentially accessing, aside from maybe income, are?
Language. I think that maybe the elderly people that probably want to keep in touch with their family in another country, or they may not want to talk to the tech at Best Buy or whatever, because he's a young kid and he probably wouldn't have the patience to explain things to you. I know our neighbors, the adults are probably a little bit younger than us, but their grandparents live with them and the young children live with them. The parents seem to be not always around. So the kids probably wouldn't be able to help these grandparents with purchasing or even getting onto the computer. So that I think that would be their barrier for that. Maybe if the children were a little bit older, or the grandparents a little younger.
Do you think that there are accessible resources for you regarding technology?
Okay, yeah.
Public
For me
support.
personally, if I need, I have the computer guy, but I also have my brother. If that, my brother does live in Strathmore as well, so he's not always my go-to. But my computer guy that lives in Cornerstone is amazing, and I would, recommend him to anybody. But other than that, I don't think I have any issues in getting any help. Josh as well would be a good help.
Do you think that there are enough resources within the community?
No, no. The only resource that I can think of would be the library. And as an older person or an elderly person, if you went over there and tried to get some help, I think it's not the quietest of libraries, which is also crazy to me. It's noisy. There's kids everywhere. There's if it's school time, there's not school time, but after school time, there's teenagers running around or doing their homework, and I don't think that anybody would actually have access or be able to help you. They have what, 5, 6 computers over there maybe, and if all the kids are on them, then I don't think the elderly would be able to have very good access unless they went at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. And they probably are mostly working then.
Yeah, because people are working later and later in life. So yeah, what improvements would you like to see considering this gap, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking when you first asked, I was thinking of internet cafes, but I don't think that would be the answer either. I think if there was a community center available and community personnel that could volunteer their time to go spend time there, and you could set seniors hours, like, hey, this is seniors day, and then or seniors time, a few hours in the day, and maybe set up something on the weekends. Here, this is only for the seniors to come in and do whatever they have a printer or two set up, all paid for by the community, and they can have access to whatever they want. You just have to book your time. I think that would be great. I mean, in a big community like Saddle Ridge with this many people, it would probably be harder to attain. However, we could probably, go over to the Genesis Center, set up something in a room for that type of thing. It would just also, again, I mean, everybody is so busy working. It would be hard to probably find volunteers, which is unfortunate.
Hopefully one day.
Hopefully,
yeah.
That would be great. I would volunteer my time for that. I would love to do that.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, is there anything else? This kind of brings us to our end of our interview, but is there anything else you'd like to talk about
I wanted to talk about, here I go back to the Microsoft again. Sorry. I just wanted to say that I love Save As. Save As is brilliant. You don't have to ruin your document. If you make a mistake, you can save it as something else. Everybody can work on it. They can do whatever they want.
Do you find that you use technology more at work or at home?
More at work, more applications at work. But I do use email quite a bit at home. I watch my Netflix at home with my computer passed to the TV. I do have spreadsheets. I find that hard to believe, right?
Yep.
For Chris's jobs and such. There are some things that I do at home that I probably don't even think of because I just do things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually really like technology and really like my computer.
Awesome.
It would feel weird not to have one anymore. I don't know what I would do without one. Yeah. Not just necessarily for Netflix, but for everything else that I have on there, all the Microsoft stuff. I'm going to make you a PowerPoint later.
Photos.
Photos, right?
Yeah.
Photos. Yep.
Hopefully there's something other on the computer than just Microsoft Suite.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. All right. So that kind of brings us to the end of the interview. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Not that I can think of, but
Wonderful.
thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for interviewing me, Josh. It's fun.
You're very welcome. Both Myla and Angie share similar social media practices, using it for new information or to connect with relatives abroad. However, they both highlight a disdain for social media at the same time. Myla showcases particular concern with gossiping and oversharing, whereas Angie highlights how social media can breed unsavory behavior that would not occur if the interactions were face to face, and even offers historical grounding in call centers for this behavior. Technology adoption for both occurred mainly in the workplace, whether that's Angie and her Microsoft suite or Myla and her lab technology. They both note how they were once the go to people for support, but now take more time figuring things out, while highlighting a level of independence and a need to figure it out for themselves. Perhaps most striking for the listener, and certainly to me, was Myla's chilling comment regarding the workforce about getting left behind. A statement echoed by Angie, worrying that not adopting makes you useless. Both women view themselves as ahead of the curve, but with many opportunities to learn, they also allegorically highlight the differences between older adults, such as themselves, and those who are older who do not adapt to new technologies. They also note the significant barriers facing the Saddle Ridge community, a diverse community lacking social supports for technology use for older adults, and programs that used to be offered at the library. This final set of interviews completes our painted picture of technology adoption and community in Saddle Ridge. And yet, it only scratches the surface. The social cohesion of a community like Saddle Ridge became notable throughout this project. So many of our participants ended up knowing each other or had some type of connection prior to the interviews. When it comes to technology adoption, it can take so many different avenues for so many different people. And I am glad that we got to share this experience in their own words. I thank you for listening And thank you to Myla and Angie for their participation. A big thank you to ASIM and the Saddle Ridge Community Association for allowing us to use their boardroom to record these interviews. I extend my thank you to the Calgary Public Library, the Green Dome Mosque, the Dashmesh Cultural Center, and St. Thomas More Catholic Church for putting up posters in support of this research, as well to Kevin Nguyen and Chandani Meharu for assisting in recruitment and equipment. In our final episode, we will feature a mediated conversation with Dr. Aisha Mian Akram, my supervisor in the Department of Sociology at the University of Calgary, as we reflect on this experience, emergent themes, the sociological impact of research in Northeast Calgary communities. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you next time.